Hi, everyone. My name is Connie Xing. I'm the Regional Digital Marketing Executive at Maersk Asia Pacific. I'm delighted to be hosting our first customer broadcast in 2023 on behalf of Maersk. Joining us today are the guest speakers, Chanel Gibson, the Pricing Manager on Intra-Oceania Trade, and William Patty, our Global Product Development Manager, Customers and Trade Consulting. I'd like to say a big welcome to all of you who have taken the time to attend today's podcast. For today, Chanel Gibson will provide a market outlook for 2023 and the possible impact of a global recession. Although it's going to be another challenging year, we will continue to leverage digital transformation as we work to overcome these challenges. William Patty, on the other hand, will walk you through the increasing complexity of the regulatory environment of international trade and how business can ensure they are compliant as well as driving savings. Before we begin, I'd like to inform you about Zoom's interpretation function, which enables you to get access to Chinese audio track. To activate this function, please click the interpretation button on Zoom's toolbar. At halftime, we will host a quiz related to the content shared by our speakers today. Simply answer the questions that appear on your screen to join the lucky draw and win Danish butter cookies. We will also be hosting a post-session survey, and you'll also have a chance to win the gifts. So stay with us to the end and remember to complete the feedback form. Okay, let's get started. I'd now like to welcome Chanel to the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the February edition of our Asia Pacific broadcast. My name is Chanel, and I'm the Pricing Manager on the Intra-Oceania trade. 2022 was again a year like no other, and has been the case with recent years. As we move into 2023, the outlook is perhaps more pessimistic than optimistic, with the ongoing possibility of a global recession weighing heavily on decision makers. Falling trade growth, tighter monetary controls, and weakening consumer demand is forecasted to have a significant flow-on effect to the container shipping industry. In North Europe trade, market demand picked up before Chinese New Year, although it is expected to slow after the holidays. Operating performance at ports in Europe is stable. We will continue to make incidental network adjustments while minimising the impact to our customers' schedules. For the Trans-Pacific trade, cargo volumes have continued to fall as US ports handled just under 2 million inbound 20-foot equivalent containers in December, down 1.3% from November, according to Descartes data mine. Year-over-year industry volumes for December were down 19.3%, settling close to the December 2019 volume levels, just prior to when the early 2020 wave of COVID lockdowns began. Meanwhile, we are seeing the winter weather is causing slight waiting times in both origin and destination ports and disrupted the network coverage. In Oceania, we're not immune from these inflationary pressures. The increased cost of living is leading to lower purchase power and therefore demand for non-essential goods in Oceania. As a result, Asian exporters to Oceania should expect to see a decrease in demand for these types of goods over the coming months. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, in the December quarter of 2022, inflation in Australia rose to 7.8%, its highest level since 1990. To combat the high inflation, the Reserve Bank of Australia has implemented 8 consecutive interest rate rises in 2022. The official cash rate increased from 0.1% to 3.1%. With inflation still high in the country coming into 2023, economists warn to expect further rate increases. It is a similar story in New Zealand, with the country recently publishing its inflation figures. According to Stats New Zealand, the country's consumer price index increased 7.2% in the 12 months to December 2022, nudging at highs not seen since the mid-1990s. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand has taken similar action to Australia to help curb the high inflation, implementing 7 interest rate rises through 2022, bringing the official cash rate up from 0.7% to 4.25%. This trend is evident across the world, with many central banks, including the US Federal Reserve, raising interest rates to rein in inflation. In terms of the spot freight rate, as market conditions continue to change, we see ocean spot freight rates are also falling and are now below those seen in the second half of 2020, and as a result are moving closer to pre-pandemic rates. The rate change is biggest on those trades that were subjected to the large rate changes during the pandemic and smaller on those trades that were shielded from significant rate increases. Whilst we do expect a degree of fluctuation in the rates, these rates will continue to follow seasonality. As an example, we will soon enter the reefer peak season for New Zealand exports, so we'll expect the spot freight rate to adjust in line with demand. With China emerging post-COVID-19, this is one area to keep an eye on in 2023. In late 2022, China lifted virtually all its COVID-19 restrictions. Since the start of the pandemic, we have witnessed the impact from China on the global supply chain. So with this change, the potential for a trade resurgence is high despite the soaring cases. As a positive sign for Australian exporters, governments from Australia and China have recently taken action to restoring a relationship after trade sanctions imposed over the past years. At Maersk, we continue to look for ways to differentiate ourselves in the current market. We understand the critical role schedule reliability plays in ensuring your supply chains run smoothly. In November, reliability for Maersk Oceania to Asia increased from 42% to 52%. This is the highest performance since August 2020. Therefore, we will continue to prioritise and invest in restoring the reliability of our ocean network in 2023. The recent announcement launching our brand new Southeast Asia to Australia network is the first step on our 2023 journey designed to bring much needed schedule resilience, flexibility, and superior coverage to the Southeast Asia-Australia supply chain. Currently, the new network is scheduled to launch from late February 2023. The new network will consist of 3 brand new services designed to simplify and connect your supply chains. The Great Australia Connect will offer connections from Port Klang, Tanjung Pelepas and Singapore to Sydney, Melbourne and Fremantle. The service will also be the foundation of our Australian Coastal Service, where we'll help you move your goods from the Australian East Coast to Fremantle. The Eastern Australia Connect will run along Australia's eastern seaboard, connecting Tanjung Pelepas and Singapore with Brisbane and Sydney. This service is designed to offer you a consistent product into and out of Brisbane. And our third new service is the Western Australia Connect. This service will offer a direct connection between Tanjung Pelepas and Singapore down to Fremantle. Our 3 brand new services will be operated by a total of 16 vessels to ensure we can maintain buffer in the schedules, enabling us to absorb any impact from unforeseen disruption and providing you with the continuity and certainty in your supply chains. As a result of these exciting changes to our network, we will be discontinuing our existing Southeast Asia to Australia network, namely the Komodo and Cobra services. Despite our best efforts, we acknowledge these services have been performing well below the global standards for reliability. Similarly, we'll continue to take the decisions needed to restore schedule reliability across our entire network. With the new Eastern Australia Connect service, we'll have a weekly call from Southeast Asia to Brisbane. Therefore, we have taken the decision to remove the Brisbane call permanently from the Southern Star schedule. As a result of these changes, we really look forward to seeing the positive impact on your supply chains over the coming months. For now, I'll pass on to William for an update on how we navigate the complexities of global trade regulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Chanel, and thanks, Connie, for the introduction. I work in Maersk's Global Trade and Customs Consulting team that helps our customers navigate the regulations related to the import and export of their goods. Our team's responsibility is to help our customers comply with customs and other regulations, but also to support our customers to be really strategic in the way they manage their trade and customs processes, creating opportunities to make really significant savings. We work on this globally, and there is a worldwide trend that applies in the Asia-Pacific region just as much as it does elsewhere. Put simply, regulations on supply chains are becoming more complicated, which creates real challenges for businesses, both large and small. Let me take you through a few examples of this changing regulatory environment. Firstly, we see an increasingly complex spaghetti bowl of trade agreements. In principle, trade agreements are great. They enable business to trade more freely and competitively by reducing the amount of import duties to be paid and by eliminating other barriers to trade. But the problem is that trade agreements are becoming less global. They are increasingly regional and even bilateral. In the Asia-Pacific region alone, there are 186 trade agreements currently in effect, a further 10 that are signed but not yet in effect, and a further 81 being negotiated. So it's really difficult for business to understand which agreements apply to them and what they need to do to benefit from them. Depending on the complexity of their supply chains, it might also mean that they have different arrangements in place for each country they are trading with. So while trade agreements are a good thing, they can be complex to access. Some research in 2015 backs this up, showing that only 22% of Asia-Pacific trade that had the potential to be done under a trade agreement was actually done so. Businesses are therefore missing out on huge opportunities to make savings. The second area of growing complexity is with regards to environmental and social legislation. This emerging area of regulation creates two new challenges for business. One is that you need to understand the potential risks throughout your supply chain. This is different from traditional customs regulations, which require you to simply understand the nature of the goods that you are importing or exporting. The second challenge this creates is that the penalties are usually more severe. For example, the European Union's incoming legislation on deforestation includes penalties of at least 4% of a company's global annual turnover if the importer cannot show that the goods have come from land that has not been subject to deforestation. So companies really need to make sure they're able to demonstrate that they have done their due diligence. Thirdly, the likelihood of being found to be non-compliant is going up, and the cost of being found on the wrong side of the law is increasing. We know that businesses want to be compliant, but it is always possible that mistakes are made. A company's processes become out of date, or the information provided by a supplier is incorrect, and so on. Customs access to technology and automation means that errors are now far more likely to get picked up on, and the increasing shift from transactional controls at the border to post-clearance audits means that the total amount of underpaid duties recovered by customs can get really high. For example, revenue collected by US Customs from audits increased from $43 million in 2019 to $132 million in 2021. And there are other examples of companies going bankrupt purely because of the duties and fines that customs applies. But getting your customs and trade compliance strategies right doesn't just mean you sleep better at night. It can enable your business to drive real savings, boost competitiveness, and become a differentiator for your company. But before we get into that, let's give the floor back to Connie, who'll be hosting our mid-session quiz. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Chanel and William, for sharing those valuable insights. I think we can all agree that we have a challenging year ahead, but we will see some great updates on our digital developments, which we will introduce more in the second half of the broadcast. That concludes the first half of our session, which means it's time for our halftime quiz. This quiz will cover some of the points you have just heard in our speaker's presentation. You should all be able to see a pop-up screen on your screen now. If you can't see it, you can manually open Zoom's poll function from the toolbar. We will leave this pop-up window for a minute to provide you with some time to complete the quiz. I'd also like to remind you that we will be running a post-event survey, which provides you with another opportunity to win the gifts. All winners of both the quiz and the survey will be notified after events through the email address you provided. Now that everyone has hopefully submitted their answers, I'd like to pass over to our guest who will be chatting to you on how Maersk is helping you to streamline your supply chain through digital transformation.
Thanks, Connie. In the second half, I would like to share with you an update of how our digital transformation can benefit you and your supply chains. The digital transformation is my favourite, as the digitalisation of the shipping industry enables everyone, no matter your size, access to the global marketplace in a way that has previously been inaccessible. At the core of our digital product offering, Spot is designed to make shipping simple and efficient. As I spoke about earlier, markets are constantly changing, therefore you need a solution that is reliable and convenient. Do you know you can book ocean and inland in a single booking? Simply search Store Door from the booking window and let Maersk take care of your entire transportation journey, taking complexity out of your supply chain. At Maersk, we understand there is sometimes uncertainty when it comes to your cargo's onward journey at destination. As a result, the standard free time window may not work for you, leading to high demurrage charges. Let Maersk Spot take the stress out by easily adding additional free time during your spot booking journey. You have the power to choose from multiple free time slots, depending on your needs, with a fixed price upfront and saving up to 80% when you purchase as part of your booking. For your non-time sensitive cargo, we suggest you to consider selecting the rollable option. In the unlikely situation that your cargo has to be rolled, the bookings marked as rollable will be rolled, with nominated compensation automatically received and no action required by you. This is a way to optimise your transportation costs for your non-time sensitive cargo and can be added at the time of booking or up to 7 days before ETD. You also have the opportunity to purchase our value-added services such as Value Protect during the booking journey. Value Protect is our extended liability product and is a great option to protect your cargo from logistics-related risks. With new features being released all the time, keep an eye out for more exciting things to come in 2023. To finish off, I would really like to reiterate, Spot is a product born out of your needs when it comes to supporting your supply chains. Therefore, we would be eager to hear your feedback on the product. What works well? What could be improved? What is on your wish list for future releases? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments or reach out to your local office. Thank you, and back to you, William.
Thanks, Chanel. I mentioned the complexity of trade agreements and the fact that businesses are not taking advantage of them. This is a huge opportunity. We often work with customers who are able to identify multi-million dollars worth of savings per year by making use of trade agreements. And although I talked about the increasingly complex regulatory environment, it is also true that governments are continuously looking at ways to make life easier, less costly, and more predictable for businesses. For example, authorized economic operator or trusted trader regimes provide businesses with many simplifications that allow goods to get through the border more quickly with fewer inspections and help businesses cash flow by reducing the need for guarantees or extending the time period for paying duties. These can be a real advantage for business. Moreover, having a form of trusted trader status is sometimes a requirement to compete for business as part of an international supply chain. Depending on the type of business you're in, there are also opportunities to better manage your cash flow. For example, by using bonded warehousing facilities, by deferring duty payments on goods you import or export for repair and maintenance, by recovering duties that you overpaid or that you paid on goods that you subsequently exported. And here I'm only talking about day-to-day operations. One of the things that can be a real differentiator is when a business brings strategic customs thinking into their entire supply chain. What do I mean by this? Well, when a company is looking at developing its products, the nature of the inputs, for example, do you use a plastic buckle or a fabric buckle on your new bag, could make a significant difference on how the final goods are treated at import and the final landed cost. Similarly, where you source those imports from could open up or close down opportunities to benefit from a free trade agreement. Again, this can make a real difference to your landed cost in certain markets. And for companies that are looking to diversify their supply chains, the customs impact of the various options should be a key part of the thinking. Or if you're looking at exporting to new markets, you may have a competitive advantage in some countries thanks to a trade agreement, and maybe this would impact on where the company focuses on its growth. Lastly, the nature of the goods that you plan to import might make a big difference as well. For example, the duties that you need to pay for a fully finished product might be much higher than for certain parts. So it might be significantly more profitable to import a key component into the country of destination, source other parts locally, and do the assembly there. These opportunities sound complicated, but with the right guidance, they can make a real difference to a company's bottom line and to their overall competitiveness. And this is where Maersk can help. We provide customs and trade consulting services to support businesses to ensure they're able to safely navigate all of that regulatory complexity, but we also help our customers to access all of these optimization and savings opportunities that I just mentioned. As a starting point, we can work with businesses to help them understand the potential risks they face, the new regulations that they need to get ready for, or the strategic opportunities they can benefit from. And we can, of course, go further by helping the company actually implement the changes that are required to deliver the improved compliance or to access those savings. We have a global team, including dedicated experts based in the Asia Pacific region, speaking English, Malay, Singaporean, and Mandarin. So if any of this is of interest, please do reach out to find out more.
Thank you very much, Chanel and William. I hope that everyone was able to take some notes during the presentation, as I'm sure the information will be important to many of you in your business decisions moving forward. We have now reached the end of the broadcast. If you'd like to go into the lucky draw to win some gifts, you should be able to see a survey page automatically pop up as the session ends. Or you can click survey link shared in the chat. You can also follow the survey link provided with a thank you email in the coming days. We would love to hear what you think about the content that was shared and how we can improve. So please let us know. Those that are lucky enough to win the prize will receive an email after the event. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure sharing this broadcast with you, and we hope to see you again in future broadcasts. Thank you also to our fabulous presenters for sharing their knowledge. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.